Hey guys, welcome to my channel, Curly Jose. So I have something to share with you guys. I have a phobia. Um, it's not one that's necessarily that common. Um, I know you probably know someone out there who has a fear of, let's say, spiders, heights, confined spaces, things like that. Uh, my phobia, I've never met anybody that suffered from the same phobia that I have. Um, I suffer from hemophobia, which is fear of blood. And this phobia has basically impacted my life for my entire life. Uh, Essentially, I have a fear of blood, and not necessarily my own blood. It can be animated blood, as funny as that sounds. It can be, you know, like what do they use in movies, like a prosthetic blood or fake blood, whatever that is, prop blood, I guess. It could be that, um, and this goes into a range of you know TV shows and television, all that other stuff. This also goes into like pregnancies. Like I know many of us in school, they have us watch uh, what like a giving birth video, right, in health class or something like that. I can't watch that. I can't watch it. I go through a series of symptoms which I'll get into, uh, and they impact me dramatically. Um, Little funny story too. The reason I didn't go into the nursing field, which I did consider at one point in my life, is because of my phobia, and what I know my phobia would have me basically failing in that career field. So, like I said, it's a fear of blood, and I'll just go right into a funny story. Traumatizing for me, funny for you, right? My pain is your entertainment. So we all know the hit series Twilight, right? When I was out back in the 2000s, 2010s, whatever that was. So I had went to see it with family, right? Um, I don't remember which one. Okay, you Twilight fans can hit me in the comments and correct me, whatever the title was. It was the movie where the main character was pregnant, right? And she had her baby. I'm sorry if I'm giving spoilers. You should have saw it by now. Um, and the baby was like breaking her bones. So noises, like certain noises or words, like surgical words, can trigger my phobia, which is really odd to say. So when my wife used to watch The Good Doctor, I couldn't listen to some of the scenes, or I would have to walk out or turn my head or close my ears, whatever it was, because I felt my phobia activating or getting triggered, whatever you want to call it. But back to the Twilight thing. So I was in the movie theater, right? And she's, the main character screaming because the baby's breaking her bones, trying to get out, I guess, whatever it was. Um, and I just couldn't. Like my body started to go cold. I feel the blood rush from like my exterior limbs into my core, so my hands and feet get really cold, and they feel cold and sweaty. I'll start hyperventilating. I'll start getting woozy and seeing doubles and triples, um, and essentially it's like the start of a panic attack, and me passing out. And so what I did, I got up and like I ran. I didn't make it to the exit of the theater. I was basically in the hall where you walk up to go to your seats, and I basically had a whole panic attack. Um, I was fine. I didn't fully pass out for this one. There have been times where I passed out. Um, what other times? Oh, one movie that haunts me and I can never watch ever again. It's a movie called Lucy. I think it's on Netflix right now with Scarlett Johansson. It's super gory. Um, of course, we can add like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, uh, Chucky. Let's just throw in all the horror gory movies. Your boy can't watch it. I can't watch it um, at all because I will pass out eventually. So Lucy is another movie I went to see in the theater. This one I actually passed out for. Um, it was just too gory, and yeah. Um, uh, what else? Oh, so one time I was home, right? And the funny thing about this phobia is that when I tell people, they don't initially believe me, or they just find it to be a joke. Um, and now as an adult, thinking back on it, like I laugh at it. It's funny, it's whatever. But in that moment, it's not funny. So stop laughing. It does get serious, and to the point where like I genuinely do get worried for my own being. Um, but this time I'm talking about, I was telling my parents about it actually, because of the fact that I felt it trigger. So I believe I was cutting like vegetables or onions or something like that, right? And I had cut my finger, and it wasn't even like a big rip or anything, but blood was coming out. So like another thing, it doesn't trigger all the time. Sometimes I can watch movies with blood in it. Sometimes I could watch animated shows with blood in it, and I'm perfectly fine. Um, but then sometimes I can't, and then I'll feel it like activating, and like I have to kind of disassociate myself from whatever it is I'm watching or listening to. And so this point in time that I'm talking about, my parents were home. They I cut myself, whatever. Excuse me. And my stepdad, who was a nurse, he bandages it up. This is me in my younger days. He bandages it up for me, whatever. And I told him like I'm going to pass out, flat out. I told him I'm going to pass out, and he laughed at me. He's like, "What? Like man up. What are you talking about? You're going to pass out?" He's like, "You got the band-aid on. You're fine." I passed out. No joke. Um, the last thing I remember is me standing there woozy, and falling backwards. Luckily, he caught me because the flooring is hard and that would have hurt really bad. So he caught me, and I didn't wake up for 20 minutes later. I can't recall anything that happened in that 20 minutes, other than when I woke up, I had soiled myself. Um, so I immediately took a shower after that. But that was an embarrassing moment for me. Um, and that's not the first time that that's happened to me, passing out and then urinating on myself. I just can't control myself, I guess, in that moment. Um, but the point I'm making is that it sounds funny, you telling people, oh, I pass out from blood, or the sight of blood, or whatever may have you, and people take it as a joke until it actually happens, and then then they're genuinely worried. Um, so just a little thing that I go through, fear of blood. Like I said, it doesn't happen all the time, and it's annoying living with it because it can get triggered off words. You know what I mean? Sounds. It's not just sight. It's not just a sight-based phobia for me. Um, you know, hearing like if I'm watching something, let's say on TV, and there's so many doctor shows out there, right? When doctors start talking about making incisions and using all these surgical terms, my mind correlates these words with surgery. Surgery for me means organs being cut open and blood. Like, I can't even really go into discussing it because my mind is starting to create these images that aren't even happening right now. And so it's tough for me to watch certain things or listen to certain things. Um, like even if I'm having a conversation with someone who's like really interested in, let's say the medical field, like I can't fully dive into that type of topic, especially like surgical stuff. I can't dive into that type of topic without more than likely getting the feelings that I get. Um, Luckily, the one thing that I am appreciative with my phobia is the fact that I get plenty of warning signs before I ultimately pass out. Like I said, I'll start getting cold. I'll feel what might be my blood rushing from like my hands and feet into my core, and my hands and feet get real cold. Um, like I said, I get woozy and stuff like that, disoriented. So I have plenty of warning signs to kind of for my body to kind of get out of Dodge. Um, and then sometimes, even if I do, I have to just try and calm myself and think about something that's like the complete opposite, like SpongeBob or something, like something just something completely innocent. That tells my body is that like it's okay, like nothing's bloody is happening, and that has stopped, and I have to like kind of calm myself down. There've been points of times where like I needed like a bag to like hyperventilate in, and like breathe pretty rapidly, kind of calm myself down. Um, but yeah, that's my phobia story. I never shared this with anyone. Tell me if you guys can relate. Uh, it's a quick little thing, right? So when I've done research, right, to see how to fix this issue, all I've seen are, you have to expose yourself to it more. You just have to expose yourself to it. And for me, I've tried that. I've tried exposing myself to more gore stuff and bloody stuff, and it's never worked. It's made it worse. Because it'll just trigger quicker, and I have to get out of there. Um, the one thing I will say though is that I did experience it in a good way. Um, and last year I had the birth of my second child, and for the whole 6 months leading up to her birth, my wife and I had contemplated if I was going to be in the room, because obviously she's aware of my phobia, and this is something that was troubling for me, because what father doesn't want to experience the birth of their child, right? But knowing that I would have to essentially battle myself and conquer myself and my fear to experience one of the greatest joys of my life. And that was something that was pretty rough for me. Um, Unfortunately for me, when the day she was born, I had to fight those demons, and I had to essentially conquer my fear, and I watched her come into this world. And I will be honest and say that it was not easy. It was extremely hard trying to hold back all of the warning signs I was getting, and all like I was shaking. Like my body was ready to like go off, um, because of my phobia, and I can't help it. Um, but just the thought of knowing that like I kept telling myself I'm not going to miss this feeling, I'm not going to miss this moment, and just kind of embrace it. I did not pass out, fortunately. I was there for the full, for her full birth. I got to cut her cord, her umbilical cord, which was also rough for me because my body sees that as essentially an organ, and in cutting it, there's blood and goo and all that stuff, right? So, that was extremely tough for me mentally and physically, to actually have to go through that. But by the grace of God, I did, and I don't regret it. And one thing I can actually say is that after that day, I feel like it actually did get better, my phobia. Um, like afterwards, I was able to actually watch stuff that was like mildly gory, or more leading to more gory that I can normally handle, and I would be okay. And I kind of contribute that to watching the birth of my child come to this world. So I guess the doctors were right. Experiencing it kind of made it better. In that one situation, it definitely did. I can't say that today that I can walk into like a gory, bloody, haunted house and come out perfectly fine. Probably not. I'm not your guy for that. But that's my phobia story. Let me know if you guys can relate. Tell me what phobias you guys might have down in the comments. And tell me if you guys have been laughed at or judged for your phobia. And I know there's plenty of much more odd phobias than mine. Um, but like I said, I've never met anybody in my life who had the same phobia as me. So if you're someone out there who does experience hemophobia, tell me about your experience, your story, and meet me down in the comments. Thank you.